So we were a bit delayed doing this today.
Go on, show your nails.
In my defence, nobody tells me. You just expect me to be there at your beck and call at all times. And I had no idea. And I took a little bit extra today for my lunch break to get my nails done.
Will we go into the studio and Niall says to me, Eimear's getting your nails done. Wow. You brought the diva.
It usually takes 45 minutes, but today it took, and then I got this text from Nicola going, "Are you coming back?" And I was like, "I'd love not to. It's 25 degrees.
Your makeup artist is hassling us as well at the door waiting to get in.
I need a makeup artist.
So did you see us on the big, well, we're going to be on the big screen. It's so exciting.
Yeah, and I got accused of insulting Niall. I was just saying hadn't ever seen Niall in a movie role before. I didn't know how to
Nor
speak
have I.
Yeah, but I
haven't been in many movies.
No.
But you better explain the context.
Okay, well, let's show it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in trouble.
I never thought I'd feel safe again. I'm an Irish teacher now, Paul. With
her, I started to believe in something better.
The trial of the now infamous crime boss John Dog Barrett has dramatically collapsed today at Dublin's Special Criminal Court. Police on both sides of the border fear his release could lead to a fresh wave of violence.
What are you going to do next, Mr. Barrett?
He, of course, was accused of the gruesome murder and dismemberment of Thomas Keegan, another drug lord.
The notorious gangster was spotted in Belfast, and that is going to lead to fears of an escalation of violence for sure.
I shouldn't have came back.
Whoever's with you, may God have mercy on their soul, that I'm going to chop you up in a million bits, that you will never be found. None of your family will ever find you. What we'll do to you, you'll know all about it. And you know I'm not messing you.
Okay, so that was actually our little bit in a upcoming production by Sean Murray, and John Connors is involved in it. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say he's in a director role. He's certainly a producer role and acting. Obviously, they're all acting in it as well. But he asked, was there any chance we could do this little bit from the crime, as if we were talking about this story in Crime World. So he came down to film. I would think he had probably put 5 hours in his diary, as most of these directors do, because they have to go back and back and back. And would you try and do it more naturally? Would you try and do it more naturally? So it's this spoofy story, right?
Yeah.
So we just took one read of it. And it was like, bump.
You got it in one.
We got it in one. So used to sounding plausible about stuff that...
So used to winging it, basically.
Yeah, basically.
They haven't come across a la carte crime journalist before.
Obviously not. No. But anyway, more importantly, the drama looks really cool.
It's brilliant today. In fairness,
it does. It does. Like, because the voiceover, when you hear your voice and you see your man outside court, it does actually kind of...
reminisce.
You can think of something. It actually is quite lifelike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be
it'll be a big one.
Worth watching, yeah.
So, is anyone in the humour to talk about anything today? Because it's beautiful out, the weather.
Gorgeous.
We're just so mistreated with weather in this country, aren't we?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work.
Silly season, I think.
But anyway, I suppose we could talk a little bit. The criminals still want to do crime, and various other cases are still churning on through investigation, through the court, etc. So there has been bits going on, but we do, it has been very quiet of late. And
well, it has.
You say that in crime and you're kind of like going, I'm not looking for anything to happen. Oh. It's just unusual.
So, yeah.
Well, if you look at it, there's actually been 4 or 5 stories out of Arguela in Spain relevant to Irish people this week alone.
Yeah.
So
it's Alicante, it's in, and I think it's,
or
I don't know, you've got it now. You've got a pronunciation of it, but somebody will
correct it.
Yeah. Or Huela.
Holidays, that's why.
Or Huela. I think it's just a district in Alicante.
District in the Costa Blanca, isn't it?
Yeah, the Costa Blanca is, you get to Malaga and you take a left for the Costa Blanca.
Yeah. So
it's about 5 hours down the coast that way.
Well, we've had 3 or 4 stories come out of there this week alone involving Irish expats. While a week of not a lot happening in Ireland, it just shows you
they're all gone on their holidays. Is that what you're
saying? Well, I don't know. I think you see that there's.
Can we go to investigate? I love a week in Alicante. Sorry, not.
The criminals
I was being serious, and we're not.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he's in a real
No, I'm not.
He's
I'm
like
not
the sun.
no, well, I'm just trying to segue into somebody being stabbed now, so it's
Sorry.
so that
Sorry.
is quite difficult to do.
Sorry. I swear we weren't even, it was not like we were drinking at lunch. I
No.
don't know what's going on. Come on. Sorry.
Okay. So, well, it is another big story. Obviously, the John George story has been like a really big one over this whole year for us. And obviously, John George was a guy from Belfast who was living over in that part of Spain. And there's a man currently, well, he's before the courts in the Spanish terms.
I think he was holidaying, wasn't he? He went over and he was due
Went over
home
there.
before Christmas. And
Yeah. And
he went to see friends and
yeah, there's a guy, Johnny Smith, is currently on remand in a Spanish prison in connection with his murder. He was brutally shot dead. But there has been a further fallouts amongst that expat community. And a guy called Dan McMeekin, who was living over there, who was in those same circles, was stabbed last month. And a guy has appeared before the court this week in connection with that, charged with attempted murder, or at least a person.
Is he an Irish guy?
He's an Irish guy, 58-year-old.
From the north?
From the north. So Dan McMeekin, at one point he did a social media video saying how he wished he'd spoken to the John George's family and given whatever information he could. Dan McMeekin was never a suspect in the murder in any way, but he was in those general circles. And because a lot of that played out over social media, as we've spoken about before, where people were making allegations against a load of people, Dan McMeekin was named. He was subsequently stabbed, and a man has been brought before the courts in Spain.
There's much news going on around that, really, as the murder itself. Like, I mean,
There
has been so much between the suspect that his name has gone from my head, the guy who's
Johnny Smith.
Johnny Smith, sorry,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm.
and his partner, and them getting married so as they can have the conjugal rights in the prison, and all the rest that's going on. And I suppose the campaign by the family initially that went out there, all those hundreds of people that went out looking for John George when he was missing still. I mean, it's an extraordinary story, and it has all played out right in that area where, of course, a couple of streets away, few nights previous, John Gilligan's lifted, with pink cocaine and suspected of being involved in a lab, in a grouping with Eastern Europeans, smuggling that, and he's in jail ever since. Then there's been a load of arrests. 4 Irish guys have been arrested, and
in connection with a cocaine trafficking plot. That was just last week. And then this week, another guy, Lithuanian criminal, was picked up, but the guards were also involved in that investigation. It to do with the largest ever cocaine seizure in the history of Europe. And then we also had a young Irish guy who was shot as well in or around that area in recent months as well. So it's become a little hotbed of criminal activity, I suppose.
they don't like that in those places.
No, because there was certainly in Portabanús, where there was obviously a lot of expat gangsters, including the Kinahan cartel, became a big political issue at times. So yeah, there is big issues, of course, with the local population's anti-tourism campaigns in that part of Spain anyway. So yeah, it all feeds into that.
Yeah. So that's Spain. Back home here, we have a few things going on, Eimear.
Yes.
That's what you know.
I just pick one.
I've just been sitting here thinking about beaches and...
Yeah, well, I suppose in the courts will be coming to finish now for the summer in July, but there's a trial that's ongoing that a lot of people will be familiar with this case, Tom Niland. He was a farmer who died in his home in Mayo. So he was... Basically, there's a guy gone on trial. His name is John Irving for the manslaughter of Mr. Niland. And it was basically, there's 4 charges, which include the trespass into his home and then, intentionally or recklessly causing serious harm to Mr. Niland. So basically, this all happened in January 2022, but Mr. Niland didn't die for 20 months. So then it was upgraded, one of the charges upgraded to unlawful killing, which is manslaughter. So,
and he was in a bad state after it, wasn't he? Like, I remember his family speaking on the radio. He had kind of like, he was unconscious, was he?
Yeah, I don't know if he ever awoke. I think he was he was definitely in a induced coma, and there was interviews done with siblings, talking about how he was had suffered really bad injuries. There was guys initially charged. John Irvin is one of them. And then obviously he died in 2023. So the charge was upgraded to this.
And he lived on his own, Mr. Niland, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he did live on his own, yeah. And he
was a real independent kind of a guy.
He was very well known in the area. Like, it caused a lot of, his death would have caused a lot of sort of outpouring of tributes and sadness because obviously, you know, the original story was around the alleged unlawful entering of his home. He was, as you said, lived alone. And then he was obviously in a bad way in hospital. So from time to time, there'll be stories done about his condition. And as I said, his siblings spoke. And then sadly, he didn't survive his injuries and those charges were upgraded. So, you know, so this man, John Irving, is currently on trial. He's only a 31-year-old. And yeah, he's facing that at the moment. So I suppose the state's case.
That'll probably be one of the last trials then of the year, of this sort of, what do they call it?
This session, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be. And it's the state's case that he, along with the 3 others, broke into Mr. Niland's home and, you know, but basically left him with injuries that he wasn't unable to survive, and then obviously died later on. So he was only a 75-year-old man, and he suffered, according to the state's case, blunt force trauma to his head, and it resulted in serious injuries, and it was a prolonged assault as well. So is the case.
Interestingly, there in the States, you have George Gibney, who, you know, that's something that has taken a long time to bring him to court, but he seems to have consented to being extradited to Ireland to face these 79 sex.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was inevitable that he was going to be extradited, so they just consent and get it over and done with that bit of it. Like, George Gibney he was obviously an Olympic swimming coach in Ireland, a big shot. Would have been regularly in the media at the time during the 1980s and even in the late 70s. Spoke about how he was going to revolutionise Irish swimming. Did, in fairness, seem to push that forward to a degree. But underneath it all, after at a later point, it emerged all of these allegations against him, made by a number of people. He was charged with a series of offences. He took a challenge against that ultimately went to the Supreme Court, and it was found that they were out of time. And after he won that challenge, he was free to go, and he left. Initially went to Scotland, but ended up in the US, living in Florida. So
we saw of course, he was tracked down by the BBC podcast, Where is George Gibney? And we saw recently there in some media how he'd been living quite a nice life, a nice condo with a... Yeah,
he lived in a kind of a house in the middle of Florida with he had a housemate.
Yeah.
A guy who'd lived with him for, I think, a couple of decades at this stage. I think he attended the local church. He had an interview only in America, of course. As soon as he was arrested, there was all the neighbours were being interviewed about. He never left the house. And he was very quiet and all of that.
And the 79 charges are against 4 young girls between 1971 and 1981. So he's a total case of you can run but you can't hide, isn't he?
Yeah, well, these women came forward after the Where is George Gibney podcast. So it was a new investigation because the original charges in the 90s, whatever law was there at the time, the Gardaí did try and take a case later in the 90s, but you basically need new evidence. So, you know, these new alleged victims came forward. So because it was a new case, they were able to go ahead with that.
So where will he likely be kept? In Arbour Hill?
Well, he'd be taken back. If he's consented to extradition, he'd be brought back, he'd appear in court. He'd be entitled to apply for bail, the same as anybody else. But if otherwise, he'd be kept most likely in a remand prison, which would be Clover Hill. If he's not given bail, he may well be granted bail given his age, but obviously there'd be other factors taken into account, whatever the guards stand up and say. So it will be the BBC podcast was a huge, very, very listened to, very sort of, you know, one of the real first big podcasts, I suppose, of that type. That focused on Ireland, so I think there will be a lot of media attention around it.
For sure.
Yeah. And sorry, Tom Niland, he actually lived in Sligo. I think I said Mayo,
Okay.
the accuser from Mayo. So, yeah.
So an anniversary this weekend of Antoinette Smith. She's 38 years since she was murdered. So she was last seen on Saturday, the 11th of July, 1987. She and a friend attended this David Bowie concert in Slane and got home to Dublin on the bus and arrived into Parnell Square about 11 o'clock. They went to a disco and then they met up with two men they knew and left. They all sort of left around the 2 a.m. mark, and then Antoinette's friend herself parted company, and she was last seen then walking to a taxi rank on O'Connell Street and got into a taxi. The men, got into a taxi and went out to the Ballymun area, and she continued to walk by the Gresham Hotel towards O'Connell Bridge, but she never showed up again. It was one of these situations that she was reported missing and was disappeared for 9 months before they found her remains up in the Dublin Mountains, really, Glendu.
Yeah.
I have spoken to her daughter, Lisa, in the past. It's a horrendous case because those kids were only 7 and 4 at the time of their mother's disappearance. So it's the Gardaí in Bray who are investigating it, and no doubt are, running whatever appeals they can this weekend. It's always helpful for the guards on cold cases to have the cases up in the media.
Yeah.
Of course, in Bray, the team are leading that investigation, and they are appealing for people to come forward and to speak to them about any detail. It's one of these situations that, it sounds so cliche, but somebody knows something, and there's a little piece of information out there that would lead the Gardaí to what had happened to her. Antoinette Smith's case, of course, has always been sort of mixed up in those missing women. There's that, and maybe it was because of this case that the spectre of the Dublin Mountains and the women.
Yeah, the Larry Murphy,
Murphy
name got thrown into that case. Although I think it's been categorically, he's not a suspect at this point. But but it's lumped. I suppose all of these cases were put together to see.
Is he categorically not?
Well, I mean, I suppose nothing is categoric until somebody is charged. But the guards, I think, have he's not a focus of their investigation.
Yeah. There was sort of, I think as far as I can remember from this case, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she was understood to have got into a car and these two men were seen with her in town, and she was sort of went from the Rathfarnham area up towards those Dublin Mountains, where she was obviously had been killed and assaulted. And the theory as such, without any concrete evidence, was this Larry Murphy and his cousin David Lawler, who's just been about to be released from prison. The two of them were quite close. It's very difficult going back that far to prove who was where, who was out.
Of course,
But I think both of them were certainly out of jail at the time. I suppose it has to be considered because there is a finite amount of two guys who will work together and do something like that.
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
Of course, yeah. And there was also, I think, similarities drawn between how she died, because she died from asphyxiation and there was plastic bags found in her body. And we know that Larry Murphy, when he raped and tried to kill that woman a couple of years later, 12, 13 years later, he did put a bag over her head, and only that two guys who were lamping foxes came along and saved her. God knows what would have happened. So I think there were similarities drawn there. And it's always been kind of said, the shocking nature of what Larry Murphy did to that woman. There was no surprise that this was his first crime as well.
Completely. And as well, just the idea of the two of them randomly being cousins and sort of, I suppose, friends through childhood, as cousins are. But David Lawler and Larry Murphy, for them to both sort of in isolation carry out some of the most shocking crimes against women. I mean, we're talking David Lawler murdered Marilyn Rinn, followed her down a dark pathway at night after she got off a bus after a Christmas party. He raped her and strangled her and went home to his pregnant partner and sat down and carried on life as normal.
Yeah.
Larry Murphy picks up this lady who's finished work, brings her up, and her ordeal was terrifying. She was moved from place to place in the boot of his car while he repeatedly raped her and tried to strangle her to death with a plastic bag over her head before those hunters arrived and her life was saved. But he went home to his wife and his otherwise normal family.
Yeah.
And as far as I can recall, his pregnant wife at the time, and went to bed.
Yeah, he did, yeah. And it was,
It's like really weird that two cousins, blood relatives, would do things like that.
Yeah, and not too far. I think was there like 5-6 years in the time difference of that. Yeah, it is. It's very eerie, and even the stories that other prisoners told Gardaí that these two were friends in prison, and that they allegedly overheard them talk about burying women in the mountains. It is all very scary, and as you said, the fact that they're related as well.
And bearing in mind, I suppose, for Lisa and Rachel, Antoinette's children, who have grown up without their mother, with this mystery of who did whatever they did to her, that's probably not really something they like to consider in it. But I think, when you look at what happened, I don't personally think they have been totally ruled out. I don't think there's actually.
The daughters have said they have spoken about Larry Murphy.
I mean, by the investigators.
Oh no, they have. Yeah.
I don't think that has been completely ruled out.
No.
I don't think there's been any evidence other than that speculation that these are two people who could possibly have done such a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Lisa and Rachel, maybe the speculation isn't helpful, but
And the fact that the men, they haven't come forward, have they, the men that were with her?
No, that was right.
With the inquiries.
Yeah.
So that's obviously, points to, it's not a good.
What were you going to say in it?
No, just that the daughters have spoken about the Larry Murphy speculation, and they said there's still no official suspect, and it was only through speculation that Larry Murphy's name was mentioned, but we are no closer to getting the answers we need, and my mom's case should be a priority. So there's still, there isn't, what they're saying is, and I think the guards have said this as well, they don't have a clear line of inquiry, that they have a very clear suspect, that they're only focused.
They don't have any suspects.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A little bit like the Murray case.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't have any suspects. They have persons of interest. And in cases of murder investigations, persons of interest are people capable, I suppose, of such crimes who cannot be totally ruled out, but they can't be ruled in, so they can't be elevated to suspect.
Exactly. Now, there are obviously other cases of missing women, some of them in that sort of broad category where the guards really have a very clear suspect and they have a degree of circumstantial evidence. We just saw, for example, the recent dig for where the remains of Annie McCarrick were being searched for, where the guards clearly have a suspect in there and a man has been arrested. Now, he was never charged with any offence, but I think this case, the Antoinette Smith case, is a different sort of case where they haven't really, it's not as if they have a clear suspect, but they don't have enough proof to bring a case.
And I think it's important with the Larry Murphy theory as well, because he was actually linked before to Annie McCarrick and to Jojo Dollard. And now it's clear that there's specific suspects in mind for both. And it can, there was a lot of talk about the fact the vanishing triangle and a serial killer and all these kind of things that can maybe distract sometimes from the actual investigation.
It can, but you see, I suppose when somebody like him is caught doing that, and let's look at Graham Dwyer for a minute and what he did and his desire to stab women. Like, after he was identified and put on trial for the murder of Elaine O'Hara, because there's so few human beings that exist like that, he's a Picure or something, that's the name of it, that he wants to stab women, around the guts and stuff. It's very strange, but he had to then be looked at for other cases of unsolved murders of women who'd been stabbed. For example, Reinert Murray.
Okay.
Now, very quickly, a kind of a timeline is drawn up about where he is. Would he be capable? Would he have been in the area? Is there any indications that a guy like him had been seen in the area? The guards don't know these people exist. And then, of course, when they come up, they would be
retrospectively looked at, basically. Looked at their movements and, where because they might be.
There's not that many of them. I know we speak about and we talk about women being, poor Antoinette being picked up like that and driven up and being found in the Dublin mountains. It's everybody's worst nightmare. But it is a really rare crime.
Yeah, I mean, most of the crimes, again, most of the women that are killed by, romantic interests, basically.
Domestic
Where
situations,
crimes of passion, as they used to be called. So when there's a mystery of this type, where there's no motive and there's not a partner in the mix, obviously then they go retrospectively look at other people as they found cases. But I mean,
it's actually really interesting kind of investigative technique, and they do try and look at the likes of that plastic bag that was used at some point, that was found near or on Antoinette's body. That's an MO, a signature of Larry Murphy. And the fact that he was caught in the act, they were actually able to gather his, all sorts of aspects of his crime, and they sent it to a particular laboratory or whatever you'd call it, department in the UK, part of either the Met Police or Scotland Police Scotland. And they were at the time coming back with a signature for Larry Murphy, and part of the signature for him was the plastic bag. It was really rare. And the other part was he had scattered toys and put children's car seats in the back seat of his car in order that he would either be able to sit in a car for a period of time without somebody becoming suspicious, or that he might be able to lure somebody over to the car. You'd probably feel safer if you saw the kids' car seats and and that was his signature MO, and they couldn't find that linked to anybody else in all of the Police Scotland, Met Police, etc. cases.
And it's funny you say that, because the one missing woman case that he is still currently linked to is Deirdre Jacob, who went missing basically outside her house in Newbridge in 1998, I think. And that was always the speculation, because she went missing so close to her home that someone called her over to a car, under the guise of, directions or something like that.
Exactly. And then overwhelmed her. And of course, that's what the police were told many years later, that Larry Murphy had got pissed up one night in prison and, spoken to one of his friends in prison. They were on the prison hooch, and that he had told him that he was responsible for Deirdre Jacob. He's told this other prisoner that she approached the car and that he overwhelmed her very quickly with a punch in the face, dragged her into the car, brought her up out towards Blessington, actually, was where he said, and that she kind of came to and put up a fight, and he killed her almost by accident before. Now, that's information was given to cold case detectives by a serious criminal who was in prison. He probably wasn't a very honest character in the first place.
No, and that's presuming.
But the reason that they actually knew that there was some truth somewhere in it was because Murphy had said he'd scattered the toys in the back seat, and that's why she'd approached the car. And nobody knew that at that point, about the profile that had been done on him that was held within police files that stated that this was only his signature.
And the victim had obviously given that information, the victim that survived.
Well, the victim that survived had given that information.
So we know
and it had been exactly.
Okay.
I mean, there was in 2023, Detective Inspector Seamus Ryan actually spoke about Larry Murphy on the record, and he said, "I'd never rule anyone out completely because we're dealing with such a long passage of time, but I definitely would not put him in the prime suspect category when asked about Larry Murphy." But I suppose it's one of these cases that even all of these years on, they're hoping an anniversary will spark a memory or spark a conversation. And I think, like when guards, they said in the Antoinette Smith case, they said it a number of times, they followed thousands of lines of inquiry. So if you know something and you tell the guards about it, it's not a matter of bringing you into the middle of something, but it's that they will try and then look into it. They'll try and correlate it with other statements that have been given, and it may just be something small that could push the investigation on.
For sure. Anyway, a tragedy, and for that family and those kids that had to grow up without their mum. So that's this weekend, that anniversary. Brings us back to just really wrapping up the week, and anything that caught your eye, anything weird or wacky that you read about?
Well,
look who's first in.
No, nothing.
We can always rely on
nothing
for a kind of
a wacky one. No, I'm not going to give you a wacky one. I was going to give you Mr. Fishy or Fishy.
Oh yeah, go on.
because
Okay, sorry. Why is he called Mr. Fishy?
well, I don't know.
Has he just got unfortunate eyes?
I don't think so. No, Mr. Patrick Fishy Fitzgerald. We used to always call him Fishy Fitzgerald, but I think when he got to court, he was being called Mr. Fishy Fitzgerald. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's a Mr.
Well, fishing
Flashy,
must
a
be his
Mr.
thing.
Flashy.
Maybe like fishing. Maybe it's nothing to do with his eyes.
Maybe, but he, like Fishy Fitzgerald, has been like a very prominent gangland criminal in the Finglas area for 2 decades, even more. I think is he 48 now, and he has been involved from back into 2000s with a lot of armed robberies, and he was convicted this week of providing the getaway cars in connection with an attempted hit on a guy called Gary Carey. Gary Carey was also a major criminal figure. Ultimately, he would be shot dead, but months before he was shot, but managed to survive. But Fishy Fitzgerald is probably a type of gangland criminal that has existed for decades.
What age is he?
He is 48 now, I think. So what?
No, that's very young.
Well, it's
It is, isn't it, for it to be around
well,
so long?
but he got 7.5 years, and he's already serving a 7.5 year sentence for an aggravated
He's
burglary.
never got sense, obviously.
He's never got sense.
Yeah, and he's still...
He is going to be like hitting 60 when he gets out, because it's a rare case where it's running consecutively to the sentence he's already received, you know. So he's 72 previous convictions. But I suppose he shows you how the world of gangland operates.
How?
Do you know? Well, he has nothing to do with that Gary Carey feud.
Yeah.
He has no association with it, but he's in charge of getting this car to provide for that gangland hit. And
So he's a freelance, basically.
well, he's a freelance, but he was also heavily involved in one of them feuds with Mr. Flashy, or at least his associates were one of the direct targets of that feud. He stretches all the way back to, he would have been an associate of Eamon the Don Dunn, would have been involved in armed robberies all the way back then. So yeah, he's going to serve 14-year sentence.
He should have got a bit of sense at this stage.
He should have got a bit of sense.
He should not be subject of a wrap-up on Crime World, this guy.
He should not be. And
Should have given it all up and
he should
faced his 50th year enjoying life on the outside with whoever he has.
in
family,
Alicante or
whatever.
whatever. I mean,
Wherever, yeah.
exactly. I
Instead,
mean,
going into prison at 48 and not getting out.
and probably if you look through like all of those 72 convictions, maybe 30 years of organised crime.
Yeah. Disorganised. Yeah.
Disorganised crime, most of it in and out of prison.
Yeah.
When he's out of prison, he's been involved in loads and loads of feuds and low-level violence. Probably made little bursts of money.
Yeah.
Then would have it seized or gone.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely...
He's one of those, why do drug dealers live with their mothers?
yeah, is it
so.
worth the kind of thing you'd
I
ask?
think so.
Yeah, no, I'd say he's a bit of a disaster, our Fishy.
A bit of a disaster. So Mr. Fishy, yeah, he'll be out for...
Did you find a wacky one?
Yeah, well, Niall's going to laugh at me.
Go
now.
on.
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Oh, I do now, because I'll tell you exactly. I know I'll say it even before, right? So she's been off for what? She had another career break. She was off for
For
about
3 days. 3
whatever.
days.
Yeah, whatever. 4 days.
Right.
Wasn't it was Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Anyway, go on.
So another career break, right?
Yeah.
Because she had a career break the week before. She
Really?
was off for Saturday. the week
Yeah.
Took a
before.
day off the week before.
Took a day off. No, it wasn't the week before. It was 2 weeks before. Go on. Anyway.
Yeah.
Two career breaks in 1 month.
Yeah.
Right?
Go on.
Right.
So,
I'll take that as a
start,
compliment
right?
that you can't cope without me. Go on.
Well, anyway. So she comes back after a career break, and what does she do the second she walks in? Who does she start journalistically targeting again?
I seen this
I'll
on
tell
my
you
day
who.
off, and
I'll
it's
tell you
doing
who.
well
I'll tell you
online.
who. Poor old Lily Gerrard.
It was actually her dad is to blame for this one.
What do you mean you started targeting her again?
No, because we do a lot of, like, in fairness, like, I have been actually trolled on our stories on Facebook for the amount of times we do stories on them.
Right.
Because we see stuff on Instagram, obviously. They put it out there, but
Okay.
obviously
She's having a baby.
she's having a baby with Lee Burns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lee Burns, obviously Liam Burns,
Son.
Irish gang boss.
Farmer Kavanagh's nephew.
Yeah, exactly. So this Stephen Gerrard, who's obviously Liverpool legend, he was doing a video. He probably didn't expect this one to be coming now. It was basically for some British online website thing, and they were like asking them all different questions, like who do you see yourself as now in terms of players? Who would you like to play golf with? I think you mentioned Robbie Keane, all this kind of thing. And then randomly, they said, "What's your phone screensaver?"
Yeah.
And he said, "This is me on my day off now." He spotted a story in this, so I don't know if this makes me sound like a loser, but anyway, he said, he said, "What's your phone screensaver?" And he said, "It's an ultrasound of my grandchild, my unborn grandchild, who's due at the end of July. I'm really excited." So I was like, "Oh well, he's obviously talking about."
Has he mentioned this grandchild before?
He not in an interview that I've seen anyway. So basically, then it showed it.
Them all as well.
It showed it. Well, I follow Stephen Gerrard for.
It's actually No.
So him and Liam are going to be granddads together.
Exactly, yeah.
And of course, they were videoed together. They were on a video together.
It was a video call.
A video call, sorry,
Stephen Gerrard.
And Stephen Gerrard knocking around with Liam Byrne. And they're obviously the families are really close and all the rest of it.
They are, because you see, like, I sound like a stalker now, but you see the mothers would be on the Instagrams too, like a.
Well, they're obviously it's all out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like Lily Gerrard last week put up Simone McEnroe. I think she had her and Simone.
Yeah. Who's her, say, mother-in-law or whatever. Future granny Simone being.
And then, bizarrely, Stephen Gerrard now is getting another constant mention in the Scottish papers. Did you see it? Because he's posing with Ross Miami McGill.
Oh, right, okay.
Who was the head of the Rangers Ultras.
He obviously likes a bad boy.
Well,
Yeah.
But you see, a lot of the sort of the footballers and some of these guys do collide through, if you're, well, Liam Byrne was a huge football fan, wasn't he? Or probably still is. Season tickets and probably meets these people and all the rest of it. I mean, I don't know how ultimately that whole relationship between him and Stephen Gerrard started, whether it started with his son Lee Byrne meeting Lily. They're sort of both what do you call those?
Influencers. I'm not sure because I feel like these
Who brought Granny to the table?
Yeah.
All those people that take their photographs.
You need to be on Instagram more. They're all acquainted for a long time.
Did the friendship start with the parents or the older?
I mean, I think there was connections, of course.
There's connections everywhere, really, because of course, Bomber Cabinet then would be friendly with
Gerard's uncle.
Cousin.
It's a cousin, sorry. Yeah.
Called Uncle Bobby, which is confusing in fairness.
It is confusing, yeah.
Why would you call your cousin Uncle Bobby?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, it is confusing.
So anyway, she came back from her career break, and
she came back from her career break.
Yeah, and
you check the traffic dashboard. I bet you it's doing well. Is it?
So
are you an Instagram user or do you prefer TikTok or?
I'm too old for TikTok, I think. What? So, I don't know how to. I find it really confusing.
Like me.
Because TikTok, you don't know when the videos are and like there's no context. You just don't.
No, I know, but it's just so addictive.
Yeah, no, I haven't gotten into that now, but I do have it for work.
If I started in the morning, I'm a good hour like this. Just like, I mean, I don't even speak. I don't want to speak. I don't want to take my head out of it. It is horrific.
Swingers, is it?
And I've only got one swinging couple on it.
All right, sorry.
They're still there.
Yeah.
They're still there. Yeah. They pop up all the
Body Blue
time.
And swingers and then dogs.
No, it's all mine is Jack Russell. It's just Jack Russell dogs and quite innocent mine, definitely.
Yeah.
But I do just boop to the next one. And like, if one of them is too long and I'm talking over 22 seconds, I get fed up.
Well, like we've seen the analytics about how like you have, I think it's 2 seconds to catch somebody's attention.
Yeah.
One of those videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like it.
But I'm bad at keeping attention anyway. So it sort of does. I mean, I do get bored quite easily.
Do you?
That's a mock surprise if I ever heard it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But especially if it's just not, but I can get, and that's it. I just need to leave if I'm bored.
So you're the perfect for TikTok.
I think I am.
Sometimes you do stay around and cause hassle. You don't always leave. You can.
I sort of think though, if you're continuously really bad at meetings, you won't get invited anymore. That's the kind of how I'm.
So there's a tactic behind it.
There's a tactic.
There's a genius.
Genius, yeah.
Genius.
I'm only invited to so few meetings nowadays.
Yeah.
So she comes in late.
And
says a couple of outrageous things and then leaves early.
You get away with it though, because you're
everyone
Nicola.
accepts that I don't read my emails.
Yeah.
It's no longer a.
Well, you see, when you hit that level of celebrity, I suppose, isn't it?
Niall's almost there. He's not quite.
Which brings us right back to where we started
Yeah.
It's Sean's new movie, and that is so exciting, though, the crime world, and that we did that. I was just going, does that mean it's like popular culture now, these podcasts and talking?
Oh, I
about
think it
things
is.
and-
I think
Yeah.
it is,
Which is an extraordinary thing, really.
Yeah.
But it does, like, to jokes aside, it does actually look like something you would be doing. Like,
But there was a day when RTE would be asked
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
that. Or
yeah.
they'd
That's
be
what I
asked to
mean.
mock up RTE.
that's what I was saying
That's what I
when
was so
when
excited
Niall
about.
got
I
it.
was like, seriously.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying. Because it was like, you know, you watch Love Hate and
Yeah.
you hear the more Ireland voiceover, whereas this
Yeah.
is you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Niall is.
And it could be you someday if you don't stop taking those career breaks all the time.
Then when he's off for 2 weeks at the end of July, I'm going to absolutely, like, we're going to we'll pretend someone was like massive crimes
Forget
happened.
how
And,
to speak.
yeah. I bet you, how many times do you think he'll be in the office?
And do you know what I could say is roll on. Just roll on a couple of weeks off to stop talking.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
kind of exhausted with it.
He'll come in though, won't he?
I really hope not. I won't be here to see it. So if
Are you off at the same time?
Oh yeah,
I'm going to be let loose then, will I?
yeah,
Yeah.
we will.
Me and Eamon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that'll be-
we're going to have a kind of a couple of weeks of sort of chill crime world. It will be on, but it'll be more chilled stuff.
Be Lily Gerrard. What did you name her baby?
It'll be sort of
You do your
things
serial
for-
podcast.
It'll be
on-
things for people to put it
Cups of
listen
tea
to.
Lily Gerrard has had in the last day and stuff
at
like
the
that.
swimming pool and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You
Okay.
know, everyone should be sitting back, taking a break.
Yeah.
Sort of need to clear our brains a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gone. I'll see you all next year. Bye.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Nicola and Niall.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.